Almost every day I get either an email or a comment on my video about child custody. And in that video, it shares my story, it shares advice I give about finding a lawyer and all these different things. And I want to make a couple of videos actually about that video in particular, because there's so many men that have this tragic nightmare of a story, which no father ever wants to go through, about being a father, losing access 100% to your kids, or even part-time. Nobody wants to just be a weekend dad when you've been involved in these kids' lives. The stories about just female manipulation, fights in the court systems, and so on. And I want to get to this, and I actually want to make a series about this, because what you need to know about this is very important, because this situation could go wrong in so many ways. Now, in this video, I don't want to talk about the legal stuff. I'm not a lawyer. A lot of guys email me about like, hey, I need a lawyer in Boston or Florida. I don't know that sort of thing. I live in Austin, Texas. I could tell you about a few lawyers that I've used in Austin, Texas, or in DFW. And I could tell you that you need to be really careful about finding a lawyer, because a lot of times they sell you well and you give them a ton of money, and then midway through the case you realize they're not that committed to it, and this is clearly their business model.
Hey guys, my name is Steve Mayeda and I'm a men's coach in Austin, Texas. I'm a BJJ practitioner, a Wim Hof enthusiast. I have an amazing family, 4 awesome boys and a beautiful wife. And what this podcast is about being the better man. What we talk about is tried and true, because we've been doing it with groups of men just like you for over 12 years. Listen up, and I hope you enjoy.
What I want to talk about is what's going to give you a great relationship with your kids, because for me, I almost always had a rocky relationship with the 2 kids that were taken away from me for 5 years. Now, since then, I've been married, I have an amazing wife, I have an amazing family, and I have 2 other kids. I have 4 boys in total, only boys. And what's so important about this is where I see so many men go wrong with it. And this is what you need to know, guys. This is very, very important. I just read a comment on the video today, and it inspired me to make this video. I just kind of posted this up in my house, and I'm about to run. It's Saturday morning. I just wanted to say this, because what makes you a great father, which is what you need to be, is you building your foundation. What your kids are going to need most, and even though you don't see them now, even though there's all this stuff with the mother of your kids, and I've had stories too, and I'm not trying to minimize your story, but I understand that frustration of Christmas. I remember Christmas of, I don't know if it was 2010 or 8 or whatever, showing up and dropping off presents to my kids, and then getting pictures back saying that, or showing that the gifts were in the trash can, and saying that my kids were told that I didn't care about them because that was the truth about me, that I didn't care, and all this crazy stuff, and that my kids said that they wanted me to kill myself. People do crazy stuff. I don't want to get caught up in the blame game, because that's not going to help you. I get those stories. So number one, it's very important for you as a man to be around other men where you can share these stories. It's frustrating. You're not alone. This is common, sadly common. This is a terrible thing. This is one of those things where you could categorize it is an assault against masculinity. We hear that over and over again. And that could be there. I'm a men's coach. This is what I do full time. This is what I've done full time since 2006. And there's truth to that. But the fight for man, the fight for masculinity, the unfairness in the court systems, how men get screwed with alimony and divorce and custody and all these different things, has almost nothing to do with you being a father. You being a father is a completely different journey. Your court case, how the government decides your life or your family life with your kids, does affect you, but that doesn't take away your ability to be a great man. This also doesn't mean that you can't bitch about it. This also doesn't mean that you can't be angry about it. That doesn't mean that you can't fight for masculinity. Like I said, this is what I do. This is my life as a men's coach. But what I learned early on in being a father who had his kids taken away, that didn't see his kids for 5 years, that was court ordered, that 0 contact. I couldn't write a letter. If I had contact from them, I couldn't respond. If I did, I'd be put in jail immediately. And if you hear my story, my ex had done multiple accusations of me being abusive, and one of them stuck. I got charged. I had to take a plea. It was terrible. I would say that the legal system, and I'll even say this, my choices in handling that legal case screwed me, or they were wrong. It didn't work out, but I still have the opportunity to be a great dad. I see my kids all the time now. We have a great life. We have stability. I have a beautiful family that they can integrate into. I have the ability to build that foundation. And this all came down to in 2012 when, for lack of a better term, the shit hit the fan. I was bitching, I was on my calls, I was on part of my group that I built for men's development. And I would highly recommend you looking into something like this, whether it's my group or another group. But my group is extremely unique for the amount of service that it gives. You can check it out, I'll put a link to it in the comments or in the show notes, whatever you call it. I was complaining, I was talking about the court hearing. There was so much effed upness that went into it. It was so wrong. It was so wrong and frustrating how that came about. And the worst part about this is the judges, the CPS workers, the social workers involved, they all say, oh, it's for the kids, it's for the best for the, they don't give a fuck about the kids. They don't care about the kids. Because what they did was not best for the kids and how it's all been resolved. One of the guys on my calls said this, and it changed my perspective on a lot of things. And that was, he told me that he said, Steve, being a father is forever. I get it that you're pissed off, but your job as a father is that you can be 100% your best whenever your child's in front of you. Being a father is forever. I get it that you're pissed off, but your job as a father is that you can be 100% your best whenever your child's in front of you. And right now your child's not in front of you. That doesn't mean you can take the day off from being your best. And at the time, I didn't know it would be 5 years. Thought it might be a couple months, which hurt. I was angry. I spent, maybe 6 months, 4 months of 2012 looking at a lot of men's rights groups, and I realized they were so based on victimization. They heard these stories and they're tragic, man. I just read a story from a guy that is just tragic. But the problem with that is that when guys listen to that, it becomes an echo chamber. There's a lot of anger that can come from it. And you should be angry. You should fight for your kids. I'm not saying any of that, but I'm saying you got to get perspective to be your best. Because when your kids show up, they don't care about how crazy their mother is. They don't care about how wrong the court system is. They don't care about any of the fight for man. They don't care about your fight. They care about you. They need guidance from you. And you, at some point, need to man up and fix the things in your life. Part of this is your fault. The only thing that you can change in any situation, even when you're a victim, is you. When your kids show up, they don't care about how crazy their mother is. They don't care about how wrong the court system is. They don't care about any of the fight for man. They don't care about your fight. They care about you. They need guidance from you. And you, at some point, need to man up and fix the things in your life. Part of this is your fault. The only thing that you can change in any situation, even when you're a victim, is you. And this is such an important part of men's development. I get this all the time, especially when I work with clients on addiction or extreme trauma. Trauma gets done to them, and there's a pain in that. And you need to decompress that pain, and you need to maybe be angry about it. You need to hit the walls. Maybe you need to cry about it. Maybe you need to write about it. Maybe you need to analyze and define how effed up all those situations are. But at some point, you need to accept responsibility for you punching the clock of that resentment, of that rage, of that anger, of that confusion that you won't let go of so that you can be your best. Because to be your best, to be a great man for your kids who will need you, in my case, 5 years down the road, who don't know how to talk to you, who now have heard a lot of crappy things about you from, other people, they need to be able to have that guidance. They don't want to have that discussion anymore. They don't want to hear about who's right or wrong. They don't want to hear about the unfairness. They need your love. They need your attention. And they need you to not have that conversation with them. What I needed to do to find my best self so that I could be 100% in front of my kids, so that I didn't bring the fight for man, the fight against their mom into my relationship with them, was I needed to fix the stuff within me. I needed perspective from men. I needed perspective from men who had been there and come out on the other side. I didn't need men who are bitching about the fight for man or the unfairness of all this stuff, that's a separate battle. And maybe you do need that, but your kids don't need it. The you that shows up in front of your children does not need that. And so what I say to you guys who've lost your kids, you're gonna see your kids again. You're going to see them again. I get that there's so much wrong with it. I get that there's probably emergencies happening that are gonna change them for the rest of their life because they're in the situation that they're in. I understand all that. You need to fight for that. But you also need to build up your best self. Because sadly, in this common story of men who've had their kids taken away and been wronged in all these crazy, absurd, horrific ways, my story is rare. My story of seeing my kids being reintegrated with them and having a life that is positive, having a life that got better after all of this, having a situation where they're in a better situation after all of this, that is rare. And I want you to have it. Look, if you do have a commitment towards this, to being your best self, if you do see it as something that's important, look at my links down below. You can join our free group. But if you could invest in yourself, there are men who have invested the last 10, 12 years of their life, because that's how old my groups are, into being a better man. And they're ready to invest in like-minded people. Check out those links below. You will not go wrong. You will not be disappointed in it. You need a good perspective. And of course, if my group isn't right for you, find one that is. Find one that speaks to you, that gives you a healthy perspective, but does not feed this subculture of blame, resentment, hatred, and so on. You need to get well in here so you can get well in here so that you can be the best man in front of your kids. In any case, hopefully that helps. I'll speak on this quite a bit more. That's a good synopsis of kind of what I think. And thank you so much for, emailing me and messaging me. It's awesome. I never knew that video would make such impact. All right. Talk to you guys later.